Hey guys, if you missed my face from last week since we didn't have a video, here it is. Again, I know I say this every time, but I definitely miss your guys' faces. This whole thing is just crazy and it really does take the fun out of teaching. So I'm really excited for next year when I will hopefully get to see your faces. So please, Lord, let this corona thing end. But one thing from this, and I really hope that you feel this way about yourself, is how proud you should be of the students you guys have become through all of this. I was talking with my roommate a few days ago about how hard this has to be for you guys. I can't imagine learning online when I was in high school. I don't know if I would have had the tenacity and the resilience that you guys have had. And so I just want you guys to know how proud I am of you, because this has not only been a very challenging thing just with technology, but also for some of you to really come out of your shell and be realistic with yourself about when you need help and asking for it. So I really think this has been a very wild ride, but I think it's also making us stronger teachers and stronger students, because we now have to think outside of the box. When being in a school building, we may not have had this kind of opportunity to do so. So I really hope that you guys are proud of yourself for what you've accomplished so far, and I hope that you continue to find the motivation to keep working. I know that for me especially, I just kind of want to lay on the couch some days, and I have to force myself to do the things that I need to do. So if you find yourself in that mood of like, God, I just don't want to get out of bed, understand that it's completely normal, but also do something that you enjoy. Even though my dog hates it, going on another walk with my dog just kind of brightens my day. Now that the weather is nice, it's a whole lot easier. Maybe it's just going out and shooting a basketball, or even just playing catch with yourself with a baseball or softball. Video games on lines with your friend, like just something that you enjoy, because this is such a hard time to just be completely separate from everything that we're used to and everyone that we're used to. So I hope that you are finding that motivation and you are continuing to work, but you're also finding time to enjoy the little things that we kind of take for granted at times. So we are getting close to being done. We just have a few weeks left. So we got this week and next week is kind of a review for seniors if you're a senior. But for the rest of you, we're going to be doing regular stuff this week and next week, and then that third week is going to be final review. And then that last 3 days, the 18th, 19th, and 20th, will be your final. So one of those days, whenever you get a chance, you'll take that final. So again, hope that you're doing awesome, and good luck this week. So for the last 2 weeks, you guys have been factoring, which is awesome. But now we're getting into actually solving the trinomials. So now, if you notice on your notes packet, we actually have a equal sign now, which means, yes, we're going to have answers. So it says now that we can factor a trinomial, we can solve it. We simply factor it and use the zero product property. This property states that we can set our factors equal to 0 and solve. So I'll explain what that means, but basically, long story short, we are making two equations and solving those two equations, and they're actually going to be pretty simple equations. So starting with number 1, we see this, and if you were just given this, hopefully you're thinking, oh, I have to factor this. So this goes back to that x in the diamond problems. So A is 1 and C is negative 32. Let me do this in a different color. So our top is going to be negative 32 and our bottom is 4. And then we're trying to get those two numbers that multiply to negative 32 but add to 4. And if you remember those quick hints that I gave you, if it's a negative number, that means we have a positive and negative number because that's the only way we can multiply to a negative. So I'm going to bring back our handy dandy factor sheets and I'm going to look at 32. Whoa, too high. There we go, 32. All right, so I'm trying to add to 4. So 1 and 32. Well, that's not going to get me anywhere close to 4. So let's look at 2 and 16. So 2 and negative 16, that would be negative 14. Negative 2 and 16 would be positive 14. So that's not it. So 4 and 8. Well, 4 minus 8 would give me negative 4. That's not what I want. So now let's switch it. 8 and negative 4, that would give me 4. So going back to our problem here, I want a positive 8 and a negative 4. So we just do the exact same thing that we did. Bring down our 1p squared. And then we have our middle factors. So plus 8, and we add a p to it, and minus 4, add a p to it, and then the very end is still our minus 32. And for now, I'm going to ignore the equal sign. I'm going to show you where that comes in later. So I go back to factoring. 1 and 8, the only thing I can divide out of those is 1, but p squared and p have a p in common. So 1p comes out, and that leaves me with 1, because 1 divided by 1 is 1. P squared divided by p is still a p. 8 divided by 1 is positive 8, and then these p's would cancel. So I'm going to leave that space, and I'm going to write another 1p plus 8. Now, what goes in this blank is whatever will multiply by these two and give us these two. So what times 1 will give me negative 4? Hopefully you were thinking negative 4. And negative 4 times 8 gives me negative 32. So I write my outside pieces. So 1p and negative 4. And then bring down 1p plus 8. Now I bring down this equals 0. So this is where we have this extra step. So normally we would have stopped. Now we're going to take it one step further. And I'm going to make two equations. So 1p minus 4 equals 0. 1p plus 8 equals 0. So I got these equations. Both of them are equal to 0, right? But I just made this piece an equation and this piece an equation, and then you just solve it. So plus 4 plus 4. Now, do we agree that 1p is just the same as p? So I really don't need this 1. Okay, and then 0 plus 4 is 4, so there is one of my answers. And then over here, I get rid of 8. And once again, I still have 1p, so I'm just going to make that p instead of 1p. And then 0 minus 8 is negative 8. And there's my two answers. So, same exact process, just now I solve those two by setting them equal to 0. All right, so I'm going to do another one. So moving on to number 2. All right, so I'm going to first fill out my diamond problem. So 1 and 9 would make 9, and then my b on the bottom is -6. Again, using my tools, I'm multiplying to a positive, adding to a negative. That means both of them are negative. So I'm going to go back to this beautiful factoring sheet that I have, and I'm trying to make -6. So 1 and 9, well, 1 minus 9 would be -8. 9 and -1 would be +8, so it's not 1 and 9, but I have 3. 3 and 3 would multiply to 9. So if they are both negative, -3 and -3 does make -6. So -3 and -3. Okay, and I set this up the same. 1n squared, -3n, -3n, and then bring down my +9. So again, this should be the same process that you guys have done the last 2 weeks. So these can both be divided by 1, because that's the only number 1 has in common with any other number. And we know that there should be an n coming out. So 1n, and then 1 divided by 1 is 1. N squared divided by n is n. -3 divided by 1 is -3. These n's would cancel out. So there's my factored part of that. Leave a space and copy it down. Now I got to figure out what goes in that space. So what times 1 would give me -3? Well, -3. And then -3 times -3 would give me +9. So then I have 1n minus 3. That's my middle, my outside. And then I have another 1n minus 3. And that equals 0. So if I follow the same steps I had before, do you see how these guys are the same equation? Do you really think I need to solve that twice? No. So this one had 2 answers. Since these two are the same equation, how many answers do you think I'm going to have? 1, right? Because these 2 equations are the same, I don't need to do it twice. So I'm just going to do this one to make my life easier. So again, 1n is the same as n, and then 0 plus 3 is 3. And there is my single answer, because this would just give me 3 again. So that's number 2. So we could have 1 answer, we could have 2 answers. Technically you could have no answer, but I'm not going to show you a no solution for now. If we have time, I will try to show you one. But as of right now, you should have answers to all the problems on your homework assignments. Okay, so number 3 is another one that has 1 in front. So I think I actually want to skip that one, and I'm going to go to number 4. That way we can see one where there's not a 1. So this time I have 5 and -4, which makes -20, and -8 on the bottom. So when I have a negative up here, I know I need a positive and a negative number. So I'm looking at 20. So 20, if I can get the glare off, I'm trying to make -8. So 20 and -1 would make 19. 1 and -20 would make -19, not 8. 2 and 10. So 2 minus 10, so the 10 being negative, that would give me -8. So there we go. I need a +2 and a -10. Okay, so if I write this, 5x squared comes down. Oh, I guess I could have wrote 2 first, but really, once again, order doesn't really matter here. So I'll just write it second, and then bring down -4. So, since I grouped it weird, since I didn't write 2 first, 5 and 10 actually have a number in common, which is 5. And then x and x squared would have an x in common. Whoops. 5x should be out here. Ignore my scribble there. Let me just get rid of that. Sorry about that. Okay, so 5 divided by 5 is 1. X squared divided by x leaves me with 1x. Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. Those x's would cancel. So I'm going to copy this again. All right, so what number multiplied by 1x would give me 2x? Well, that would be a 2. And it's a positive 2. Positive 2 and negative 2 would give me negative 4. So there we go, there's our problem. So 5x and positive 2 go together, because again, your outside pieces. And then one of the parentheses, and this equals 0. So my two equations are going to be 5x plus 2 equals 0, and 1x minus 2 equals 0. So again, I have two equations to solve. So I would subtract 2. This time I don't just have 1, I have 5. So 5x would come down. 0 minus 2 would be negative 2. But I still have this 5 in front that I have to get rid of. So I'm going to divide it by 5. And if I do this in a calculator really quick, was it negative 2? Negative 2 divided by 5 gives me a decimal. I'm actually just going to leave it. So since it gives me a decimal when I type this in my calculator, I'm literally going to leave this 2 over 5. Negative 2 over 5, sorry. And there we go. There's that answer. Negative 2 over 5. I'm just going to leave it as a fraction, just so I don't have to deal with decimals. Okay, over here, I would add 2. So that leaves me with 1x, which again, do I need this one? Absolutely not. So I'm just going to leave it as x. And then 0 plus 2 is 2. So there I have my two answers. Negative 2 over 5 and 2. So some of your answers are going to be nice, pretty. Some of them will be fractions, and that is okay. You actually could have some that are both fractions. So be aware of that. So let's do one more where we actually have a number besides 1 in front. Let's do number 5. All right, so again, we start with our diamond problem. So 4 and 3 would make 12. The bottom, we would get 8. We have positives everywhere, so that means our two sides are also positive. So I'm trying to multiply to 12, but add to 8. So 1 and 12, if they're both positive, that means that makes 13, so that's not it. 2 and 6, yes, that would give me 8. So 2 and 6, perfect. All right, so I bring down 4m squared, and then I have 2m, 6m, and 3. All right. So 4 and 2 have a number in common. They can both be divided by 2 and m. So 2m comes out. 4 divided by 2 would leave me with 2. M squared divided by m would still have an m left over. 2 divided by 2 is positive 1, and these m's would cancel. So now I have 2m plus 1 over here. So what times 2m would give me 6m? Hopefully you're thinking 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. So then I have 2m plus 3, 2m plus 1 equals 0. So I have two equations, 2m plus 3 equals 0, 2m plus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to just solve it like a normal equation. So I'm going to get rid of this 3 first. So minus 3, that leaves me with 2m equals 0 minus 3 is negative 3. All right, and then I would get rid of the 2 by dividing. And if you notice, if you tried to do this in your calculator, it's going to give you a decimal. So you are going to leave it, negative 3 over 2. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing here. I want to get rid of this 1 first. So I would subtract 1 on both sides. So 2m equals negative 1. Okay, because 0 minus 1 would be negative 1. And then divide by 2. Now, if you tried to divide these, this would also give you a decimal. So you're going to leave it as a fraction. And if you notice, this one has 2 fractions, which again is okay. Don't get frustrated if you are getting fractions. That is probably going to happen a lot. All right. So if you have questions or need a Zoom meeting for extra help, just let me know, and good luck.